Maddie, and today I'm going for a drive in the car. Do you like going in the car? It's fun, isn't it? There are lots of fun things to see and look at in the car. As well as cars, there are buses, lorries and motorbikes, and signs on the roadside that tell us where to go. And my favourite part are the lights that change colour to tell you when to stop and when to go. Do you know what they're called? That's right, they're called traffic lights. But do you know how traffic lights work? Let's find out. How does it work?
Traffic lights.
Traffic lights are used to control traffic, like cars and buses at junctions. A junction is where two or more roads meet. Here, there's 4 roads that meet together and lots of different lanes, so it can get quite noisy. Traffic lights are important because they help traffic all travel in different directions through a junction safely. They do that by telling the traffic when to stop and when it's safe to go. Do you know what colour means stop? That's right, it's red. Can you see? The traffic light is red now. But what do you think happens next? It's changing colour. Look, the traffic light turned green, and green means that it's safe to go. And there, off goes the traffic. But did you notice another colour? That's right, in between the red and the green, there's an amber light. The amber light tells you to get ready to stop or get ready to go. So how do the traffic lights change to keep the traffic flowing so that all the cars can get to where they're going? Come with me. This is a traffic control centre, and it's where traffic lights are controlled and monitored in a city centre. Look at all of these screens showing roads and traffic lights and junctions. It's so busy, and there are so many roads. Traffic lights are controlled by computers, and the computer tells each traffic light how long it needs to be red, when to change to amber, and how long it needs to be green. It's called the traffic lights cycle. But what is a traffic light cycle, and how does it work? I think we need to take a closer look. At a junction, there is a set of traffic lights for each road. The roads coming from the left and right see a red light, so they have to wait. Traffic coming from the top and bottom roads see a green light at the same time. That means it's safe for them to go. The traffic can go straight ahead or turn left. It can also turn right, but it has to wait until the traffic coming in the opposite direction has passed and it's safe to turn. Next, the lights on the roads going from the top to bottom turn amber, then red to make the traffic stop. Then the cars travelling on the road going across see red and amber, then turn to green, so it's their turn to go. They can now drive straight on, go left, or wait to turn right. And the whole cycle starts again to keep the traffic flowing nicely all day long. Wow, it's really clever, isn't it? Shall we see how a junction works from up high? I've got my special steady camera, and a steady camera means that the picture will be smooth and steady even when I put the camera high in the air. Oh, that is so high! Look at the junction all the way down there. Can you see the traffic moving up and down the road? That's because their traffic light is on green. Ah, now look. The traffic going up and down has now stopped because their traffic light has turned red. So now it's the turn of the traffic going across the junction. That means their light has turned from red to red and amber and then green. Away they go. That was brilliant. Now, let's have a go at driving through the junction. First, I'm going to drive straight on across the junction. I've put a special camera on the front of the car so we can see more clearly. The lights have turned red, which means we need to stop. And now the lights are green, which means I can go ahead safely. This time, I'm going to turn left at the junction. The light is green, so I can go. OK, last go. Let's make a right turn. Remember, before turning right, I have to wait until there's no traffic coming from the opposite direction. Seeing how traffic lights work was really fun, wasn't it? What was your favourite part? Do you remember what the place is called where two roads meet? That's right, it's called a junction. Did you hear the sound of all the traffic at the junction? And did you see the amber light as the traffic lights changed from green to red? There are lots of different types of lights on roads, though, aren't there? Can you think of any? What about headlights on a car like this? There are also street lights that help us to see when it gets dark. And emergency warning lights on top of fire engines, ambulances and police cars. Emergency warning lights, like the ones on this police car, are really important because they tell people on the roads that the police might be travelling fast or are on their way to an emergency. When they're switched on, they flash really brightly, like that. But do you know how emergency warning lights are made? Let's find out. How is it made?
Emergency lights.
To make the lights for our police car, we have to come to a place like this. An emergency warning lights factory. Before emergency warning lights are made, they have to be designed using a computer program. Once the computer has the right design, it creates a list of parts needed to make the lights, and that gets sent to this, an electronic handset. And on the screen, it tells us where they're kept in this massive storeroom. So, what do we need? We need lots of little lights called LED lights, and these do all of the flashing. And then we need a circuit board, and a circuit board controls when and how often the lights flash. And to connect the lights to the circuit board, we need lots of colourful cables. And then we're going to need some of these. These are called lenses. They act a little bit like a lid for the lights. And finally, to put everything together, we need lots and lots of screws. Is cut out from a sheet of metal called aluminium. This is then put with all of the parts onto a mini train until it reaches the workstation. And this is where the emergency warning light is put together. And this is Mick. He's going to be making one for us today. First, Mick gets the base ready and starts to assemble the parts. Next, Mick screws all of the LED flashing lights into the right place using something called a pneumatic screwdriver. Can you hear the sound of the pneumatic screwdriver? What do you think it sounds like? I think it sounds angry. It's time for Mick to wire all the LED lights, but there is a lot of wiring to be done and it can take a long time. So I'm going to use my special camera to film something called a time lapse. And that means when we watch this back, we can see things happening a lot quicker. There are 15 different cables to put in. I think they look a bit like colourful spaghetti. Wasn't that brilliant? Now all the cables are in place, it's time to plug in the circuit boards. A circuit board is like a mini computer, and it sends a message to the LED lights to tell them when to flash, and they're connected by these wires. Mick has given me special permission to help him plug one of the wires in. We're nearly finished. Just need to put the lenses on the top, like a lid. The last workstation is really important because it's where the emergency warning lights are tested to make sure they're working properly. Ready, Mick? Here we go. Look, they're working. Oh, they look great, don't they? What colours can you see? There's blue, red, and white. Thank you. Right, let's get this fixed onto the top of our police car. The lights have to be screwed in place and then wired into the police car's electrics. In total, it takes about 7 hours. And there you have it, a finished police car with brand new emergency warning lights. And I've got special permission to switch them on. Wow, looks like everything's working properly. Don't they look brilliant? I loved seeing how emergency warning lights are made from all those small parts. What was your favourite bit? Can you remember the name of the mini computer that controls the flashing lights? That's right, it's called a circuit board. Did you hear the buzzing sound the pneumatic screwdriver made? And did you see what colours the emergency lights were? They were blue, red, and white. So the next time you see emergency warning lights on a police car, you know how they were made. And when you see traffic lights on the road, you know how they work to keep the traffic safe. I'll see you next time. Bye! Hello, I'm Maddie, and it's almost bedtime. What do you do before you go to bed? We put on our pyjamas. We brush our teeth. And I like to choose a bedtime story to read. But what happens when we lie down, close our eyes and go to sleep? How does sleep work? Let's find out. How does it work?
Sleep.
During the day, we use lots of energy playing and learning new things. And at night, it's really important that we sleep so our bodies rest and we have energy to use the next day. Every day has 24 hours in it. And 24 hours is the time it takes on the clock from when we wake up in the morning to when we have lunch, eat our dinner, go to bed, and wake up again the next day. All animals need different amounts of sleep and at different times of the day. Elephants only sleep for about 4 hours a day. A cat sleeps around 12 hours a day. And a brown bat can spend around 20 hours a day asleep. A grown-up needs to sleep around 8 hours a day, but children need a little bit more, between 8 and 14 hours a day. You might think that our bodies don't do much when we're sleeping, but they don't just stop working. They're still really busy doing important jobs. But to find out what happens when we're asleep, I think we need a closer look. fall asleep, our body is still working, but a lot slower. During the first part of sleeping, our heartbeat slows down, our breathing slows down, our body temperature is a little bit lower, our brain slows down too. It's processing what we've learned during the day. Then it stores this information away for when we need it again. Our eyes are still, our muscles relax, and our body repairs itself. This part of sleeping is called non-REM sleep. We spend most of our time asleep like this, resting. Some of the time, our heart beats a bit faster and our eyes might flicker. This is called REM sleep, and it's when we might dream. As it starts to get to morning time, our heart starts to beat a little bit faster. Our body temperature becomes warmer and we're ready to wake up, all fresh for the day ahead. That was really interesting, wasn't it? To find out what happens when I sleep, I've got a special gadget. This is a type of sleep monitor. It measures my heartbeat and it tells me how well I slept. And it links to a phone. So in the morning when I wake up, I can look at the display and see how I was sleeping. Now I just need to set the sleep monitor to record. There we go. Put my phone away, read my book and settle down for bed. What's your favourite bedtime story? Night night. What's that noise? Oh, it's my alarm clock. Time to get up. Ooh. Good morning. That was a lovely sleep. I feel well rested and ready for the day ahead. Let's take a look at the sleep monitor and see what it recorded. Oh, can you see this picture? That's a graph. And this wobbly line looks a little bit like hills, doesn't it? And it's showing me how well I slept. The top of the hill is where I was in non-REM sleep. That's when my muscles are really relaxed and my eyes were still. We say that it's deep sleep. This is the time when our bodies repair themselves. But the bottom of those hills, that's when I was in REM sleep, when my eyes might have been flickering and I was possibly dreaming. But I don't remember any dreams. Sometimes we do remember our dreams. Dreams are a little bit like films that our brains play at night, but they're not real. Can you see that I go from deep to light sleep throughout the night? And look, my heart rate dropped and became slower until I woke up again. And here, at the end, when I'm sleeping very lightly, is when I woke up. Right, now it's time for breakfast. I loved finding out what happens when we sleep. What was your favourite part? Do you remember how many hours a grown-up should sleep each night? That's right, 8 hours. Did you hear the sound of the alarm clock in the morning? And did you see when I went from deep to light sleep on my special monitor? Sometimes in the morning, I like to watch a bit of television. Sometimes I'll lie on the floor on a beanbag. I also like to sit in the armchair. But my favourite spot to sit is the sofa. Do you know what's inside a sofa to make it so comfortable? I wonder how a sofa's made. Let's find out. How is it made?
Sofa.
To find out how a sofa's made, I've come here to a sofa factory. There are lots of different types of sofa, aren't there? You can get grey ones, super squashy ones, and even sofas with zigzags. In this factory, sofas start as large planks of beech wood. This wood comes from a beech tree.
To turn wood into a sofa, first we need to make a frame.
This is a frame. It's a bit like the sofa's skeleton, and all the pieces of wood are the bones. It will give the sofa its shape. Can you see the different parts? We have the bit that you sit on. This large rectangle is the back, and then at the sides, we've got the curvy arms.
But how do they make the frame?
Mark uses a table saw to slice the large planks of wood into shorter chunks. The pieces of wood get pushed through this machine. It cuts the wood to the right size and gives it straight edges. All of these pieces of wood will make the base and the back of the sofa frame. But what about the curvy sides that will make the sofa arms? Steve is using a stencil to draw exactly the right shape onto a piece of wood.
Can you see what curvy parts he's making?
Here we go. These bits of wood are called stumps, and these will help to make the arms of the sofa. Now all of the frame parts need to be joined together, and each place where two bits of wood are joined together is called a joint. It's Bob's job to put the sofa frame together, and he does that by fixing the joint with a very strong glue and screws. Just look at all of these sofa frames. But it doesn't look very comfortable, does it? The next part of the sofa, the soft cover that goes over the frame, is made in here, the cover room. This is called a pattern, and there are lots of different pattern shapes. Steve is drawing around each one with a funny yellow waxed crayon, and this gives him a line so he knows where to cut.
I love the sound of the little whizzy cutting saw.
Now we just need to see them get sewn together. And that's done here, in the sewing room. Kath is a machinist, and right now she's sewing the pieces together that will make the arm for our sofa cover. The arms will get attached to the rest of the sofa cover and make their way to the upholstery room. And upholstery is what we call covering a chair or a piece of furniture with material. But first, we need to attach these to a wooden frame. They're called springs. Boing, boing.
Now the springs are on, a material called foam is stapled onto the sofa.
To make sure the layers of material don't move, James sews them to the springs using a massive sewing needle. Here you go.
Thank you.
And then the top layer goes on, the sofa cover.
This looks fantastic. All it needs is some matching cushions. To make our sofa really squishy, we need these feathers. And they start in this machine called a hopper, which blows air around them to make them light and fluffy, like this.
But how do the feathers make the sofa comfy to sit on?
This is a cushion bag, and it's got a small hole on one of the corners. But how do you think we get it full of feathers?
The bag is put over the pipe and... whoa! Did you see that? The bag inflated like a balloon and the feathers have been blown inside. Let's see what it looks like from inside with my special camera. Ready? Go! How amazing is that?
you have it, a finished sofa. And it is so comfortable. I think it's time for a rest. I loved finding out how sofas are made. What was your favourite bit?
Do you remember the material the frame is made out of? That's right, it's wood. Did you hear the sound of the little whizzy saw that cut the fabric? And did you see how quickly the feathers were blown into the bag on my special camera?
So the next time you sit on a sofa to relax or read a book, you'll know how it was made, with a wooden frame and a squashy outside. And you'll know what happens to our bodies when we go to sleep. I'll see you next time. Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I'm going for a trip into town. When we're out and about in busy places, we see lots of signs, and they give us information. Look, here's one. This sign tells us which direction to go in. That sign tells us there's a museum nearby. It looks like the letter M with a hat on. And then there are brightly coloured signs like this one. It's glowing really brightly, isn't it? It's called a neon light, and they glow to catch our attention. But do you know how the glass is made into different shapes? And how does a neon sign glow? Do you know how a neon sign's made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
Neon sign.
To find out how a neon light is made, I've come here to a neon light workshop.
Neon signs come in lots of different shapes and sizes. There are some that spell words, and some in the shape of animals, like this pink flamingo.
Look at these dancing neon lights on the ceiling. Woo! To make neon signs, the workshop uses these glass tubes, and there are lots of them. They come in lots of colours. This one's blue, orange, yellow, and they're different widths, like this purple one that's a bit thicker. And that's because different glass tubes make different types of sign. Today, the workshop are using this glass tube, but it's really long and straight. I wonder what shape they're making today. Let's find out.
Before the neon sign can be made, Sam designs it on a computer. Today, we're making a blue arrow. Once it's been designed, it's printed out. But how does an arrow printed on a piece of paper become a neon sign made of glass? Let's see what happens next. This is Tony, and he places the long glass tube on the printout of the arrow, and he marks it with a black crayon. Can you see the curves on the printed out arrow? To make the tube curved, Tony needs to heat up the glass with a big flame.
You must never go near or touch a flame, but Tony is specially trained to use the flame safely so he can heat the glass so it will bend.
To make the glass bendy, Tony uses a special flame called a bench lamp, and as the tube heats up, the glass becomes softer and it bends.
It's a good sound.
Look, now Tony's blowing air into the glass tube. That's to make sure the tube keeps its tube shape whilst it's being bent.
Wow! But now our arrow needs long curves, and for that we need a bigger flame. So we use this. It's called a ribbon lamp. But to find out how heat helps to bend the glass, I think we should use one of my special cameras. This is a thermal imaging camera, and it shows us how hot or cold things are. So let's switch it on and see what happens. At the moment, the glass tube is a purple colour, which means it's quite cool. But what do you think will happen when Tony puts it in the ribbon flame? Wow! As soon as Tony put the glass in the flame, it turned white. That means it's really, really hot.
The flame that heats up the glass is so hot it can reach 650 degrees Celsius. That's the same as lava coming out of a volcano. Tony's bending the glass carefully using his hands. And you can see that the ends that he's holding are cooler because they're still purple. We're nearly there. The glass arrow is looking fantastic. And next it's brought here to the pumping station where gas is pumped into the glass tubes so the neon sign will glow. But to connect the arrow to the gas, you have to melt a little bit more glass. And the gas that this lamp uses is called argon. It's the argon that will make the neon sign glow brightly. But to do that, we also need electricity. In neon lights, electricity moves through the tube between these. They're called electrodes. They're fitted onto both ends of the arrow. Inside the neon light, electricity mixes with the argon gas inside the tube. Small particles called electrons then start moving around, which makes a blue light. Let's see what happens when Sam switches the electricity on. Wow! It's glowing bright blue. That's because the electricity gives the argon gas energy to move around and make light. And if it's switched off again, the electricity doesn't give the argon energy, so it stops making light. Back on again. There you go. How interesting was that? But before the sign is ready, it needs to be put inside a clear plastic box to make it nice and safe. And there you have it, a blue neon sign in the shape of an arrow. Doesn't it look brilliant? I loved finding out how neon signs are made. What was your favourite part? Do you remember the name of the gas that's used to make a neon light glow blue? That's right, it's argon gas. Did you hear the sound the bench had made when it was heating up the glass? It's a good sound. And did you see all the different colours on my special camera when the glass tube was being heated up? White means really hot, and purple is colder. Sometimes we might find signs that light up above a doorway, and there are other signs, like this one. It tells wheelchair users to push the button to open a door. We use lots of different types of doors, depending on how big a building is and what needs to go through it. This door is enormous. This is another type of door. It's called a sliding door because it slides. And this door is called a revolving door. That was great. It's called a revolving door because it revolves. It turns round and round. But do you know how a revolving door works? Let's find out. How does it work?
Revolving door.
To find out how revolving doors work, I've come here to a door workshop. Revolving doors are great because they let more than one person in and out at the same time. You must never play in revolving doors, but I've got special permission to look closely at this one to show you how it works. The outside of a revolving door is called the drum wall. And can you see that the drum wall is curved? It's a bit like the shape of a drum you might play. Inside, there are 3 panels made of glass called wings. 1, 2, 3. And they're made of glass so that anybody going through the door can see where they're going and will be able to spot anyone coming from the other side. Hello! The drum wall has 2 gaps in it. One on this side so people can go into the door, and one on this side so people can walk out. But how does the revolving door turn? The wings are fixed together in the middle to make the centre axle. And the centre axle and the wings together are called a carousel, because just like a carousel at a fair, they turn round and round. This is a manual revolving door, which means we have to push the wings if we want to go through. But there are other types too. This is an automatic revolving door. Can you see it's moving all by itself without anyone pushing it? But how does an automatic revolving door turn round and round all by itself without being pushed? To find out, I think we need to take a closer look.
At the top of the revolving door is a sensor, which gives out an infrared beam of light. When we walk towards it, the infrared light is broken by our body. This sends a signal to a computer, which sends a signal to two motors, switching them on. The motors make the wheels turn and they move along a circular track. This pulls the carousel round, and the doors turn round with it. The revolving door turns 2 times and then stops when you reach the other side.
That was really interesting, wasn't it? This is Matt, and Matt is a revolving door engineer, and he's taken the top panels off the door and is going to bring it to a stop so we can take a closer look with one of my special cameras. Thanks. The revolving door has 2 motors at the top, and I can see one of them just here. Wow, look at that. And the other one is on this side, all the way up there. And around the top of the revolving door, we have the track. Can you see it? It goes all the way around, and there's one of the wheels. But to see all of these parts moving for ourselves, Matt's given me special permission to use some more of my special cameras. Look, I'm getting closer to the revolving door.
But when will the sensor see me?
Oh. Look, I broke the infrared beam coming from the sensor, and it sent a message to the computer which turned the 2 motors on.
And now the wheels are moving along the track, making the doors turn. Can you hear them turning? This revolving door has a special button on it, which slows the doors down for wheelchair users and pushchairs so they can go in and out safely.
It moved a lot slower, didn't it? Isn't that great? The revolving door will turn around 2 times, and if nobody else breaks the infrared beam coming from the sensor, then the motors will switch off and the revolving doors will come to a stop. How brilliant is that? I loved finding out how revolving doors work. What was your favourite bit?
Can you remember the name of the glass panels that rotate? That's right, they're called wings. Did you hear the sound the wheels made when the revolving door turned? And did you see the red light turn on my special camera when I walked up to the revolving door?
So the next time you use a revolving door to get in or out of a building, you'll know how it works. And the next time you see a neon sign, you'll know how the glass was bent and how the gas inside makes it glow. I'll see you next time. Hello, I'm Maddie, and I've just been doing some shopping. This bag is really easy for me to lift, but this one, it's too heavy.
There are lots of heavy things that we can't lift, like a shopping trolley full of food, a motorbike, or a big pile of bricks. So, how can we lift heavy items up? That's right, by using a forklift truck.
Forklift trucks are used to lift really bulky, heavy things. But do you know how a forklift truck works? Let's find out.
How does it work?
Forklift truck.
To find out how a forklift truck works, I've come here to a warehouse.
A warehouse is where lots and lots of items are stored. And Nick is is a forklift truck driver here. You should never go close or play near a forklift truck without a grown-up, but I've got special permission to show you how they work. And I'm wearing a special high-visibility jacket to make sure Nick can see me. This part is called the forks, and it looks a little bit like a fork that you eat with. And just like a fork, it's the part that scoops and lifts things up. These are called pallets, and they're made of planks of wood. Pallets are very strong, which means heavy things can be put on top of them, and underneath they have 2 spaces for the forklift truck's forks to slide into. The forks are attached to the carriage, and this tall part here is called the mast. Can you see that chain? It looks like a huge bike chain, doesn't it? Well, that's called the mast chain, and it lifts the forks and the carriage up and down. But how does a forklift this size lift really heavy things all the way up there without tipping over? Let's find out. Here, I've got a plank of wood and some different size pots of paint. What do you think will happen if I put one small pot of paint on one side and a big, heavy pot of paint on the other? Should we find out? Ooh, that's right. The big pot of paint slides off. But look what happens when we put a small pot of paint on each side. It doesn't tip over. That's because the pot of paint on this side weighs the same as the pot of paint on that side. It's called counterbalance. And a forklift truck also has counterbalance, a heavy weight inside at the back, so it can pick things up at the front and not tip forwards. But to find out how it lifts them really high in the air, I think we need to take a closer look. First, the driver moves the forklift forward, so the forks slide into the pallet. Next, the driver pulls a lever. This pushes oil into the bottom of a hollow tube, called a hydraulic cylinder. Inside the hydraulic cylinder is a piston. The oil being pushed into the cylinder pushes the piston up. As the piston pushes up, it lifts the mast, and the mast chain starts to pull the carriage and the forks up. The forklift truck moves into position in front of a shelf. When the forks are at the right height, it drops slightly. The back wheels turn, and the forklift truck reverses, leaving the pallet on the shelf. The driver pushes a lever, which lets the oil out of the hydraulic cylinder. The piston moves back down, lowering the mast, the carriage, and the forks. And off it goes, ready to lift another pallet. Wow, that was really interesting. Shall we take a look for ourselves? I've got some of my special cameras here to attach to the forklift so we can see what happens when it moves a heavy pallet onto one of the top shelves. We're ready to go. I've connected the special cameras to this screen so I can watch what's happening. Okay, Nick, we're ready to go. Look, Nick's putting the forks into the 2 holes in the pallet. That's so it can lift the heavy things up really easily. And now he's pulling the lever, which lets oil into the pistons, so the mast and carriage can take the pallet up. Whoa. The forklift is moving the pallet so high. And it's not falling over because of the counterbalance at the back of the forklift truck. Nick then drives the forklift forward and pushes the lever to lower the pallet onto the shelf safely. Can you hear that sound? That beeping tells us that the forklift is reversing. Nick finishes by pushing the lever one last time, which brings the carriage all the way to the floor. So he can drive off. How amazing was that? I think forklift trucks are brilliant. What was your favourite part about finding out how they work? Can you remember the part of the forklift truck the forks are attached to? That's right, it's the carriage. Did you hear the sound the forklift truck made when it reversed? And did you see the way the forklift truck lifted the pallet really high on my special camera? Forklifts are great for lifting really heavy things, like boxes of fruit. Here, I've got a box of apples. What's your favourite fruit? I love grapes, and I love these too. Raisins. But did you know that raisins are just grapes that have been dried? There are lots of different types of dried fruit, like bananas, apricots, and even pineapples. But do you know how dried fruit is made? Let's find out. How is it made?
Dried fruit.
Dried fruit is made here, on a farm. This is an apple orchard. And look, you can see the apples starting to grow. Today, they're turning apples that have already been picked into these dried apple slices. But first, they need to be taken from the field in these big apple bins to the factory. This is a bin tipper, and it tips the apples into this giant washing machine. To clean the apples, they take a ride on this very special conveyor belt. And then they get dropped off into a big bath of water. The apples bob along the water and come to here. The apple ladder, which carries the apples up to the next stage. This is the apple orientation machine. Can you see the apples fall into a little hole? And under each hole is a wheel that spins around and it turns the apple until the stalk is facing up. How brilliant is that? Underneath the stalk is a part of the apple called the core. And to make dried apple slices, the orientation machine lifts the apples off the little holes to remove the core. Whoa, look! The machine is pushing the core out of the apple, leaving a big hole in the middle. After the metal rods have made a hole in the middle of the apple, they slide onto another rod, ready for them to be sliced into two parts. Before they come out the end of the machine, down some slides and balloons. It's like a water park for apples. There they go, down the slide. The apples slide down onto this table. Can you see that it's jiggling around? We say that it's vibrating. And as the table vibrates, the apples jump up and down, and it shakes any of the pips off. Can you jiggle like an apple? That is the sound of jets of air blasting water off the apple half. Sounds a bit like a vacuum cleaner. Now the apples need to be sliced. This is a slicing machine, and inside there are 8 really sharp blades that cut the apples into thin slices like this. This machine cuts 8,000 apple slices a minute. So to see how it works, I'm going to use one of my special cameras. This is my special slow motion camera. It lets us film things that happen really quickly, but watch them back slower. Look, the drum is spinning the apple pieces around really quickly. And can you see those wavy bits of metal? They're the blades that chop the apple pieces into slices. But where have they all gone? Oh, there they are. Look at all those apple slices. Our apples are the right size and shape now, aren't they? But they're still moist and a little bit bendy.
apples are really juicy because they've got lots of water inside them. If I squeeze this apple slice, can you see all of that juicy water coming out? But to make apple slices, we want them to be dry and crispy, so we have to take the water out. It's called dehydration. And it happens inside this machine. It's called a dehydrator. Look how big it is. It's 14 meters long.
Inside, the dehydrator machine blows hot air onto the apple slices for 12 hours.
Off they go.
The machine blows away all the water. It's a bit like a really big hairdryer.
When the apples come out, they look a little bit different. They're smaller and shriveled up. That's because the water that was inside has gone. Now the apple slices are dry and crispy.
Dried apple slices are then put onto another conveyor belt and are carried up to the packing machine, which drops the right amount of apple slices into each packet before they're sealed. It's like a bee, isn't it? And here we have a finished packet of dried apples, all ready to eat. I loved seeing how dried fruit is made. What was your favourite part? Do you remember the name of the machine that made sure the apples were the right way up? That's right, it's called the orientation machine. Do you remember the sound the air jets made when they dried off the apples? And did you see the apples getting chopped into slices on a special slow motion camera? So the next time you try dried fruit, like dried apple, you'll know how it was made. And when you see a forklift truck, you'll know how it lifts really heavy things really high up. I'll see you next time.
There are lots of